perhaps we will get started. Thank you all again for joining us. I want to welcome you to Ovarian Cancer Canada's first ever town hall. My name is Jennifer Laliberté. I'm the Regional Director for Quebec, and I am joined tonight by Elisabeth Baugh, who's our CEO. First off, I really want to thank you all for logging on. I know we've had some interesting weather here across Quebec today, so appreciate you taking the time to join us this evening. I did see that we had quite a wide variety of people who had registered for this webinar, people who had been personally affected by ovarian cancer, donors, corporate sponsors, volunteers. So I really do want to take a moment to thank everyone for their support of our community and the work that we do. We really are only truly here because of you. Tonight, you'll hear about the impact of your contributions and learn more about new strategies and directions that we are pursuing to radically shift the course of ovarian cancer for good. I forgot to change the slide there, so sorry for that. Here is a overview of our plan for this evening. To start, I'll take you for a bit of a tour of the region and talk about the impact that's being made right here. Of course, again, this is only possible because of the support of our community, and I hope that you'll see tonight just how important your contributions are and how you're contributing to make a difference. Then we're going to talk about some of the realities of ovarian cancer, and we'll have the opportunity to consider together some of the difficult challenges that lie ahead. Ovarian Cancer Canada is making some bold changes to address these challenges and change the status quo, and we're really excited to be able to share that news with you tonight. To ensure that we deliver on our promises, we'll take you through how we'll be holding ourselves accountable to the ambitious goals we've set. And of course, we know that change takes a village, and it's really only possible with your help. So we want to continue discussing how you've been involved and how you can get more involved with the work that we are doing moving forward. And then, of course, we will gladly take your questions and do our best to answer them over the course of the next hour. Because we have multiple people logging on with us tonight, the line has been muted to keep everyone from talking at the same time. But that being said, we do want to hear from you. So please don't hesitate to share your insights and ask questions in the chat box. You can just press the chat icon that you see in the middle of your screen to open up the dialog box. And just to make sure that we do see your comments, please make sure that your message is sent to everyone. So we'll look to get to as many of your questions as possible, and if ever we are not able to, I am always available to discuss anything outstanding with you at a later date. So one of our most important objectives is to ensure that women who are living with this disease have access to all of the relevant information they need, and that they know that there is really a whole community of people rallying to support them. So here in the region, we regularly make presentations to clinicians and staff at cancer centers and cancer support organizations across the province to make sure that they're aware of the many resources Ovarian Cancer Canada has available to people living with ovarian cancer and their loved ones. This is really vital because we know it's important for those impacted by the disease to be referred to us as soon as possible so they can benefit from our resources when they need them. Of course, women are able to reach out individually by phone or email with questions or requests for support. This past year, we produced some new video testimonials in both official languages, and those are available on our website, so that women across the province can hear from at least one other person who has received an ovarian cancer diagnosis, even if it is only over the internet. We also work really hard to stay connected with local peer support groups. We've provided support in the way of funding to local groups, and we're always interested in working with partners across the province to ensure that women who need them have access to peer support services in their community. And of course, we ourselves do as much as we can to actually bring women together in cities across the province. Again, to get information, but also, and sometimes even more importantly, to build connection. So we have hosted a number of intimate and informal TLTs at our regional office in Montreal. We've held similar events in Quebec City. This past June, we had a virtual event in Rimouski that allowed us to make sure all the wonderful people in the Gaspé and Bas-Saint-Laurent region know all about the programs and services that are available to them. And then, of course, we have a much larger education day organized in the region every year. And in fact, this just occurred a few weeks ago on November 9th in Montreal, where we had close to 70 women and their families come together to hear from world-class clinicians and researchers. They talked about all the new treatments and advances that are in the works. We talked about genetic testing and prophylactic surgeries. And we had some great speakers come in as well to talk about insurance, the effect of lifestyle factors on prognosis, and we also had a really great talk on managing stress when faced with illness. So, all of these services are meant to meet the varied and varying needs of women living with ovarian cancer. There's no one size fits all approach, and so our goal is to make sure that women have access to the type of service they need when they need it. One of the other initiatives that has been tremendously important in bringing women together, regardless of where they live, is our new online community of dialogue, which launched in September of last year. And the wonderful thing about Of Dialogue is that women can connect to the platform whenever they feel the need or the desire, and they will have access to all of the information and discussion that has been posted there. The platform is available in English and French, and we currently have about 70 people from the region who are participating in an active way. You see pictured here on the slide a woman by the name of Anna Cardoso. She was one of the first people to jump on board when we launched Of Dialogue. And one of the things that she said was that she loves it because she learns new things by reading what other people have done to cope with the treatment and the side effects. And she has found some useful information that she's been able to bring to her doctor. So she, has been a really great advocate and a really great example of why such a platform is so valuable to women living with the disease across the country. One of the things that women living with ovarian cancer tell me all the time is how grateful, excited, and inspired they are to know that there are people out in the community who are giving of their time and their talent to organize events that shine a light and raise funds for this cause. And I've been really happy to see that more and more across Quebec, people are organizing all kinds of events. And what's really great is that those events that people are organizing are a wonderful reflection of the passions of local community members. So we've had things like bake sales, hockey tournaments, paint nights, people have cut their hair. We even had somebody from Quebec City, who's pictured on the bottom right there, create a custom coffee blend in honor of a special woman in his life. And so it's really a wide variety of wonderful events that have been occurring. Another great example, for the past 3 years, the Dessureau family has organized a bowl-a-thon in memory of Pierrette, who died of ovarian cancer in October 2015. You see their family pictured at the bottom left of your screen. During her treatment, Pierrette discovered that she had the BRCA mutation, and later her daughter Isabel, who's in the pink shirt in the photo, she discovered that she also had the mutation. Armed with this information, Isabel opted to take action to prevent the possible development of ovarian cancer. And, she told me that without research, we'll never be able to achieve better treatment, nor would we be in a position to offer women the chance of having the opportunity that she did to stop the disease before it even starts. So she says that her and her family are committed to being a part of that push for more research, and that's why they continue to organize the event. As I said, they've done it for 3 years now, and they've raised close to $5,000 to support Ovarian Cancer Canada. And, another really great project that's in the works by one of our local community members, a wonderful young woman by the name of Cécile, who also received an ovarian cancer diagnosis herself just a couple of years ago. And she is planning a cross-country trek. She plans to go from Vancouver to Montreal to cycle between Vancouver and Montreal next summer to raise awareness and also to galvanize the community. She's hoping to be able to, meet with many women along the way and potentially even invite them to join her for a part of her journey if they're keen to do so. So there's some really wonderful people doing some very exciting things in our region, and we're really happy to support them and see that community come together and galvanize in this way. Speaking of leaders in our region, we're very happy to include 2 members from Quebec on the Ovarian Cancer Canada Board of Directors. So I just did want to take a moment to introduce you to them and acknowledge their their involvement. Catherine Asselin is brand manager at Sail Outdoors. She's worked in advertising agencies and for many years at Cirque du Soleil on a number of events, campaigns, and shows. So she brings a really strong understanding of audiences in Canada and Quebec. Catherine has always been actively involved in a number of important causes, including Canada World Youth Program, and she's also fundraised for Breakfast Club. So we're really, really happy to have her on board. The other member of our board from the region is Michel Brunet. He is the Assistant Vice President for Operations at Sun Life Financial. Michel has spent most of his 15 plus years with Sun Life finding ways to get better results with less effort and at lower cost. So he's really keen to bring that same mentality to his work with Ovarian Cancer Canada. And just to note that Michel was spurred to action when he lost his mother and his aunt to ovarian cancer. So he really wants a better outcome for all the wonderful women in his life and in our community. So we're really pleased to count them among our leaders. One of the important initiatives that has also taken quite a bit of prominence in the region has been our advocacy efforts at both the provincial and the federal level. You'll hear more about our federal work from Elisabeth a little later on, but I did want to say that provincially, we have been quite active as well. In January, we met with the Provincial Association of Gynecologic Oncologists and a local peer support group, the members of the support group Over Espoir and their leadership. And together we discussed the issues that are facing women living with ovarian cancer in Quebec specifically, and identified the need to specialized care. So the access to gynecologic oncologists is a really important issue for women across the province, regardless of where they live. So people in major cities like Montreal and Quebec and Sherbrooke, are lucky enough to have specialized centers, but people across the rest of the province don't necessarily have that or don't have that and have to travel significant distances to get care. And so we felt that that was an important issue that needs to be raised to ensure that all women across the province have access to the best possible care. And so we prepared our argument, identified some volunteer ambassadors that were keen to get involved and share their story and experience and help us advocate for better care. We had a number of meetings with provincial elected representatives. We even organized an awareness day at the National Assembly last May, where we were able to hold a number of meetings. And we also got to sit down with some members of La Direction Générale de Cancérologie, which is the branch of the Ministry of Health, that is responsible for the organization of cancer care delivery, and they were really receptive to what we had to say. And so we're very excited to continue working with them to make sure that that access to specialized care is maximized. I think the other important point to make here is that not only is this work important for women who are living with this disease, but it also is really meaningful to the people who are themselves involved and participating in that work. So Sonia, for example, is a young mother from Quebec City who participated in our awareness day in Quebec City in May. And she said, I'm doing this for my daughter. I want her to have the joy of knowing her mother longer than I was able to know mine. And I am getting involved for all the women who are living with this diagnosis to show them that I'm there to support them, because I really do believe that there's hope. And Suzanne Lessard, who's another woman from the South Shore of Montreal, who together we went to meet with her elected rep at the time was Diane Lamarre. And so, she really felt that after meeting Madame Lamarre, the most important thing that she took away was that she had the opportunity to talk about this disease, to raise awareness to Madame Lamarre about ovarian cancer and the specificities that surround that diagnosis. And she said she felt really heard, and that for her, even if maybe this seems like a small thing or a small gesture, that it was very important for her to have the opportunity to get involved in some way. And just to point out that here in the region, there has been quite a bit of activity around supporting our federal advocacy work, which again, Elisabeth will tell you more about. But of course, we are calling on the federal government to invest in ovarian cancer research. And that call to action has been very well received here. Close to 500 letters have been sent from Quebec to elected representatives. And again, a number of volunteers have met with 10 members of parliament and 2 senators from the region. And so we continue to support that work very strongly. Of course, the Walk of Hope is another hugely important event across the region and across the country. Montreal is one of the largest walks in the country. In fact, it attracts between 500 and 600 participants annually and raises over $100,000. So it's quite a significant walk. We also have walks in Quebec City and Piedmont. I'm very excited to say that there is a new group of volunteers that have been involved in organizing the walk in Quebec City. They began their new volunteer role for the 2018 Walk of Hope, and they had their most successful walk to date. So we're really excited to continue to grow that event. We know that there are a lot more people that we can reach, and so we're hoping to do that in the years to come. We're very lucky to count on a number of corporate sponsors that support each of our walks. This year, we were very happy to welcome Lavery as a major corporate donor in Montreal, and we're excited to continue to expand that support across Quebec, whether at individual locations or with the growing opportunity for regional sponsorship. We're also going to be looking at expanding the walk to other locations. So places like Sherbrooke, Lac Saint-Jean, Rimouski, these are all places where currently there is no Walk of Hope, and it's something that we would like to try and get off the ground in those areas. So with that, I will hand things off to Elisabeth Baugh, CEO of Ovarian Cancer Canada, and she will tell you more about our power in numbers and our new strategic plan.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Thank you all for joining us tonight and giving us some time to share with you what we're doing and the work we're planning to do. So more than 7,000 concerned Canadians in over 35 communities nationwide raised awareness and funds in support of the Ovarian Cancer Canada Walk of Hope. Together, they exceeded expectations, gathering donations in excess of $1.9 million, which surpassed our national goal to raise 1.8. These funds are already being put hard to work on the new strategic plan that we're sharing with you today. Because of walk participants, generous donors, as well as supporters, Ovarian Cancer Canada marked its 20th anniversary last year. And that milestone prompted us to take stock and closely examine our priorities and where we stand to have the greatest impact as quickly as possible. There have been many changes in the external environment over that time, including technology, community engagement, and knowledge about the disease. The entire landscape, in fact, has changed, and so must we. In planning ahead, we looked at everything we are doing. We really want to make a difference, but what does that look like? Women with ovarian cancer and their families deserve to benefit from treatment advances and higher survival rates that we see in other cancers. We're committed to ensuring that ovarian cancer is no longer overlooked and underfunded. As a country and as a community, we cannot afford to let ovarian cancer fall through the cracks. What's the harsh reality? Few new treatment options have become available since the 1990s. This work continues to point to one hard truth: something has got to change. And Ovarian Cancer Canada wants to be at the forefront of that change. To deliver on that, we need to be grounded in facts, and we need to look at what's working and what's not working. Here's what we know. There's still no screening test for the disease, and the community is hoping for early detection. Taking a look at evidence surrounding this approach, science tells us that ovarian cancer is not one disease, but rather a variety of diseases that behave very differently. Because of the different subtypes of the disease grow and spread differently, it's been difficult to find a single screening test. And as that research continues, we need to save lives now. As a community, we need to save lives now, and we asked ourselves how we could do that. This much is clear, that research is the only way we can truly stop ovarian cancer. We also know that BRCA gene mutations are involved in about 20% of the cases. We packed all of those insights into what we call our theory of change, an 8 to 10 year outlook plan that shows what the future would look like if we successfully deliver. Here's what we know. Together with the community we work with and for, we are determined to impact the outcome of this disease. And going forward, we are going to increase our contribution to research funding. We will ensure that women with ovarian cancer have what they need to thrive from diagnosis throughout their journeys. And we will also work harder to reach families who are at an increased risk for ovarian cancer because they have a family history of the disease. These 3 impact points guide the organization's work to enable women with ovarian cancer and all others at risk for developing this disease to live fuller, better, and longer lives. To deliver on these bold changes, Ovarian Cancer Canada is going to shift from being the doer of all things to being an instigator, more narrowly focused on what we must do while working with partners so that they too can work to their strengths. An example of such a shift is our move from general awareness to advocacy. By shining a light on the broader issues and talking to elected representatives, the community stands to benefit from substantially increased research funding. A consortium of leading researchers has already been assembled, and they are prepared to act fast to prioritize investments in support of improved treatments. 3 main pillars have been identified for this investment. Firstly, improved models to learn more about how ovarian cancer starts, progresses, and how to stop it. Secondly, to advance study of promising treatment strategies to address common issues in ovarian cancer and guide development of more effective treatment. And finally, to prioritize research on emerging treatments and expedite potential treatments to clinical trials. So what you won't see in these plans is general awareness programming. Studies have shown that awareness of ovarian cancer is actually higher in Canada compared to other places in the world. But that said, talking only about ovarian cancer's vague signs and symptoms can be problematic. Noticing symptoms doesn't mean a woman has ovarian cancer, nor does it mean the disease has been caught early. So we need to get more specific and to underline what all Canadians need to know about ovarian cancer. We also got more specific about our plan, and we looked at a 3-year strategy that will position us to deliver real change to women in Canada. Our mission calls for a focus on research. For scientific progress, significant funding will need to be invested both directly and by the government. At the same time, women living with ovarian cancer must see improved care and support offerings so they can live their best lives. Beyond this, information about prevention has to reach women who are at high risk of ovarian cancer and others who have opportunities to reduce their risk. Because of new research on prevention, this priority will launch next year. Overall, we're going to continue to strive to engage more women and their families living with ovarian cancer to provide support and continually rally, hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder, towards change. I trust that you're as excited about this new strategy as we are. Please share your thoughts and your questions in the chat box, and you can access that by pressing the icon at the bottom of your screen, the little talk bubble, and from there, please type your feedback into the section that appears to the right of your screen. Progress is only possible with your help and support. It will take the efforts of the entire community to reach further and radically shift the course of this disease for good. But together, we can make it happen. With sites in Vancouver, Edmonton, Ottawa, and Montreal, the Ovarian Cancer Canada Tissue Banking Network gathers biological samples and data, and in turn makes those available to physicians and scientists who are studying ovarian cancer. This extensive collection has been used by 450 projects throughout the country and internationally. Current research projects, which we're funding in partnership with the Cancer Research Society, include a study by Dr. Yohiro Yamanaka at McGill University, who's exploring how high-grade serous ovarian cancer, the most common subtype of this disease, first develops in the fallopian tubes. To see what it looks like, how it develops, and eventually, to see if there is a way to catch this cancer early. A project by Dr. Trevor Shepherd at the London Regional Cancer Programme that's looking at whether a coping mechanism in cancer cells enables them to survive chemotherapy, because we know many women become resistant to chemotherapy too soon. The hope here is to see if the coping mechanism can be blocked to override chemoresistance. And finally, a research project by Dr. Jim Petrick at the University of Guelph, who was learning about tumor blood supply, which is the vehicle for treatment delivery. In his work, Dr. Petrick will see if improving a tumor's blood supply can actually make treatment delivery more effective. This could reduce required drug dosages and lead to less toxicity and fewer side effects. The Canadian Conference on Ovarian Cancer Research is a unique meeting of the minds that was founded by Dr. Barbara van der Heijden, Corinna Boyer Chair in Ovarian Cancer Research, when there were only 3 researchers across the country studying ovarian cancer in 2002. This biennial gathering has helped raise the profile of ovarian cancer research in Canada, and it's fostered one of the world's most collaborative and engaged scientific communities focused on this disease. Jennifer mentioned the advocacy work we're doing, and research is expensive. We need many others to pitch in. So that's why we met with Health Minister Jeanette Petitpas-Taylor in October to discuss federal research funding. She was incredibly supportive at our meeting. We were able to get to that point, to have that meeting, because 3,351 concerned citizens wrote to their federal elected representatives about the need for research funding. This is over and above nearly 13,000 people who signed their names to a related petition that was read in the House of Commons. 38 advocates took to the corridors of power and met face-to-face with national decision makers on Parliament Hill last spring. And because of all these efforts, today we're closer than ever to securing $10 million in federal funding to support more ovarian cancer research. Because of this exciting momentum, Ovarian Cancer Canada has convened a vibrant community of women living with this disease. Today, 428 women with ovarian cancer are registered to OV Dialogue, the online community, where, as Jennifer described, they support one another, share stories, and give and get advice. More than 1,000 women received By Your Side or Still By Your Side resources for those facing a new diagnosis or recurrence. These free guides assure women know that they're not alone in their journeys with ovarian cancer, and they bring insights from women who have been there and the best available information from experts in the field. And 264 people have heard webinars live or ones that we have recorded. With these pillars of success, we're charging ahead, measured and strategic in our next step. And to deliver on this bold mission, we're going to hold ourselves accountable for increasing research investments, in research funding contributed by Ovarian Cancer Canada, but also looking at government and partner investments that are focused on the areas that we've identified as priorities. We're going to be accountable for improving care. Starting with an evaluation of ovarian cancer care in Canada, we're going to gather feedback to further support women living with ovarian cancer in care-related decision-making so that every woman, regardless of where she lives, has the best care possible. We strive to reach more people affected by ovarian cancer. We want to increase the number of women with ovarian cancer directly benefiting from or involved in Ovarian Cancer Canada programs and initiatives. And we want to increase the engagement of their family and friends. We're going to be accountable for informing women about preventive action, establishing formal recommendations on prevention, and ensuring that genetic testing is increasing among women with ovarian cancer and those with a family history of the disease. and we will invest for maximum impact. We're going to maintain our high standards in fundraising and administration expenses, keeping them to a minimum. I want you to know that a focused effort is being put forward in Quebec, where people have been more difficult to reach because of the distinct needs of the community here. To grow our roots in Quebec, we're taking intentional steps so that what we offer is not a one-size-fits-all approach. We want to reach more women throughout the province to ensure they have what they need to thrive in their journeys. And this will mean partnering with other organizations, having frank conversations about what's missing and what we can do better. We want to engage Quebecers in programs that will serve you, to genuinely improve your experience of our organization and build trust for deepened engagement so that you derive true value from what we have to offer. Once all of this happens, we'll look to building a sustainable base of funding that will further advance and continue our work in this province. Sorry, I'm not getting the slide to change. Working with the community and for the community, Ovarian Cancer Canada is looking for your help. Change takes a village, and we can't thank you enough for being so generous with your time and contributions along this journey. As we look ahead, efforts continue to call for all hands on deck. These changes cannot happen without your support. We're eager to know if you see yourself getting further involved. Please let us know in that chat box, which you can access by pressing the icon at the bottom of your screen. Okay, so Jennifer was going to dive into opportunities to get involved. And so I was going to talk about some of those for you. Some of you may already have been involved in some of these activities. Government relations advocates, that includes meeting and corresponding directly with federally elected reps or provincially elected reps, and engaging community in government relations efforts. So if we're asking for community to write a letter to their MP or to follow up with a petition, we would love to have your help in getting that word out to the broader community. Another way you can get involved is as an OV Dialogue contributor, greeting new users and making helpful introductions, moderating discussions, and we are looking for people, women living with ovarian cancer, to get involved in that venue and to help others and offer the support they can. But again, also we're looking for moderators. Community champions, and by that I mean spokespeople, sharing your story with the media and informing the public on the realities of ovarian cancer and what needs to be done. There's nothing more powerful than hearing a personal story. People never forget them, and it moves others to get involved in this cause. We talked about the walk, and walk leadership includes planning and presenting the Ovarian Cancer Canada Walk of Hope in your community, working with our team to bring about an event where women and families feel supported as they raise funds for programs and research. And there's many ways to get involved by actually starting up a walk in a local community or by getting engaged as a volunteer on a committee of a walk that's already going on. Social media ambassadors, that's another area, engaging with family and friends on social media to reach more Canadians, encouraging participation in advocacy and giving campaigns through your social media channels you may be active in. Jennifer mentioned some of the fundraisers that individuals have started in their communities. And again, those are options, co-chairing or organizing fundraisers of every size and shape, as well as leading walk teams to fundraising success. Finally, corporate champions, opening doors which will enable us to make new connections within your company or companies that you may know, your professional network, working with us to test or pitch opportunities for corporate sponsorships. And those are all ways in which we would look to you to help us. So we're going to move on to questions and see if anyone has questions. We're going to address some questions we've seen, and we'll try to get to as many as possible. If we can't get to them, Jennifer's information will come up at the end of the session, and you can contact her directly. So to ask a question, simply press the chat icon that you will see in the middle of your screen to open up the dialog box. To ensure that we see your question, please ensure that your message goes to everyone. We'll look to get as many of your questions as possible over the next little while. And of course, I'm always available to discuss anything outstanding with you, as is Jennifer. So questions, do go ahead and type them up.
While that's happening, can you hear me now, Ms.
I
Jennifer?
can.
Oh,
Yep.
good. Great. Sorry about that. I logged off and logged back in, so here I am.
Good. Well, I'll jump in. I know we really wanted to emphasize, and so I see someone has sent a message on social about how we plan to reach more women in Quebec. And I mentioned that we do feel that we know one size doesn't fit all, and we're going to make a concerted effort to partner with other organizations, have frank conversations about what's been missing and is missing in our programming, and how we can do better. Because we really want to bring the women of Quebec programs that will serve them and meet their needs to improve their experience with Ovarian Cancer Canada and build trust for greater engagement. Jennifer, do you have a question?
Well, one of the things that I hear a lot from women in the community is that, or people in the community, is that early detection is really what's needed, and so they're kind of curious about why that isn't reflected in the plan. And so the way that we address that is to really just explain that, we want to make sure that people's donations are invested where they can be put to most effective use. And so we're always looking to the scientific evidence when it comes to decisions like this. And as research into whether early detection can help save lives continues, and we know that that's ongoing, we're really prioritizing work on prevention and improved treatments. This way we're stopping ovarian cancer before it starts, and that's certainly what's becoming the gold standard. And at the same time, we're helping women who have been diagnosed to live fuller, better, longer lives. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but it's certainly a question I hear a lot in the community.
Yeah, no question. It's a concern of many of women, and they also want to know how the research that we're doing right now is going to help them live longer. So I think that research has moved very quickly in the last 10 years, and there's a lot of new information about ovarian cancer. One of the most significant breakthroughs that came about recently in the last 10 years showed us that ovarian cancer is not one disease, but rather several diseases that behave differently and respond differently to treatment. And I just have to add a note there that our tissue bank in BC was certainly involved in providing some of the tissue that was used in that research. So that finding has led scientists to explore targeted therapies, and the new strategy that we've developed to increasing research contributions will focus on improving treatment for women living right now with the disease. Beyond that direct contribution, our advocacy efforts are bringing the community closer than ever to securing $10 million from the federal government in support of ovarian cancer research. And when that funding is secured, and I'm not going to say if, I'm only going to say when, scientists are poised across the country for action because they've had a direct hand in identifying these priorities that are going to make a tangible difference to the lives of women living with ovarian cancer as quickly as possible.
I second that. It's definitely a win.
It is. Not giving up.
No, and we shouldn't. Often people say too that if they, the concern is that if we're not talking about symptoms, then how will women know to get checked for ovarian cancer? And just to address that, I think the problem with talking only about signs and symptoms is that they're so vague, and women at some point or another have experienced many of them. And so while that information is always available on our website and we'll always reference it in the media, it's also true that noticing these signs and symptoms doesn't necessarily mean a woman has ovarian cancer, nor does it mean that it was caught early enough that will lead to a better chance at survival. And so, while we aren't focused on leading with signs and symptoms, we're emphasizing risk factors so that women who are at increased risk know that, take note, and speak to their doctors about what can be done. So.
Okay, are there any other questions? If not, maybe we can wrap it up. And if people feel that they have things that they want to inquire, Jennifer, your information is available for folks,
Oh,
as
yes,
is
of
mine.
course. I think just want to say a quick thank you to the people who have participated in this webinar today, and to all of our supporters, especially KPMG, a longtime supporter who's made this event possible. So thank you to them. And yes, here is my contact information on the screen now. You can reach me by phone or email at any time.
Thank you, everyone. And please do get in touch if you'd like to help or if you have more questions.
Great. Thanks very much.
Good evening.